So now I'm going to show you start to finish how I created the background, and you don't have to do this in exactly the same way that I do it, but there are going to be some techniques that I will be doing here in the background that you might want to try. So I started with a thick acrylic paint. It's just plain white acrylic paint, and you can see it's on there pretty thick. Then I'm adding in just a little bit of an off-white color, just to give it a vintagey kind of a look. And now I've got torn up pieces of vintage book pages, and I'm just kind of randomly adding those in. I want the pages to, or the pieces that are torn, to look really random. So there's sheet music, definitions, parts from different articles and stuff like that. But I want the weight of the canvas to be more towards the bottom and the right hand side. So that's how you see I'm doing everything more towards that side. Now I'm using the paintbrush and just kind of going along the edges of the paper that I've added in. You don't have to actually decoupage these on, since they're being pushed right into the really wet paint, and then with the paint being brought up over the edges, that's going to seal it onto your canvas. Now I'm adding in some smooch spritz, and this is my River Mossy color. It's kind of a really pretty teal. And I like using the smooch spritz because it has a little bit of a sparkle to it from the mica. So it's got that grungy look, but it's still very girly. Now I'm just drying it with the heat gun. And you'll notice this is where you start to see some of that bubbling happening. And that is because we put the paint on there so thick. If you had like a thinner medium, you wouldn't be able to get these big bubbles in the paint, and you'll see them more once we add some more spritz and stuff like that to them. Now I'm using my wood stained smooch spritz, and I spray it across the bottom again because I want the weight of the project to be across the bottom and then the right hand side. I spray a lot on the bottom, then did water and tilted it upside down so the color would kind of blend upward. Then I sprayed more on the top so the color would come back down towards the bottom, but still could look kind of natural and loose. And now I'm just using my heat gun to dry it. And then there are a few more bubbles that you'll see that will come in on each of these different phases of creating this canvas background. Now I'm adding in a little bit of color from the rest of those paints, and I'm just dipping my finger right into the paint and then going along the edges. I'm adding a little bit of gold, and then I want you to notice something right there. I actually made it kind of split right there because it wasn't all the way dry on the bottom, but that doesn't matter because there are no mistakes in art. So you'll notice that I go back over it with a little bit of the color, and once you dry it and we put the rest of the embellishments on, you won't even see it. So if that happens to you, don't think you've ruined your project. You just keep on going. Sometimes something that you think is a mistake is an opportunity for you to create some kind of a new embellishment or a new technique to try and cover it. So like I said, there's no mistakes in art. So I'm just adding a little bit more over that. I added more gold into that area. And then I'm bringing some of the gold down into the canvas because of it. And I'm really glad that that happened because it created this look that I wasn't going to actually bring that gold farther down. Now I took the actual spray top off of the bottle and I'm kind of flicking some of that wood stain smooch spritz onto the canvas because I want those little flecks to be on there. And now I'm drying it with that heat gun, and you'll see more bubbles will start coming up. We added in more paint. So now there'll be more opportunity for there to be more bubbles. The wet paint does give you a little bit more bubbling than the dry paint does. So you'll be able to, if you want, you could actually keep doing more layers. And this is pretty much it for the background. You can go back to the presentation now and you can see how I created the embellishments to add to the canvas background.